I was so bad. I walked in with a pillow in my shirt and I knocked over everything and I kept having to stop and I looked at these people just saying, shoot me, have me leave, have me, don't make me do this again.
Sandra Bullock is not just a movie star. She is America's sweetheart, an Oscar-winning actress, a producer, and one of the most bankable names Hollywood has ever seen. For decades, she has captured audiences with her charm, wit, and undeniable talent. From the comedic brilliance of Miss Congeniality to the emotional powerhouse performance in The Blind Side, she became a cultural icon, a woman who could embody strength and vulnerability in equal measure. But behind the glitz of Hollywood, the flashing cameras, and the laughter she brought to millions, lies a life marked by heartbreak and tragedy. Bullock's story is one of extremes, the dazzling heights of success and the crushing lows of personal betrayal and loss. For every standing ovation, there were nights of silence. For every red carpet smile, there were private tears.
Sandra Annette Bullock was born on July 26, 1964, in Arlington, Virginia, to an American father and a German mother. Her father, John Bullock, was a U.S. Army employee and part-time voice coach, while her mother, Helga Meyer, was a German opera singer whose life revolved around music, culture, and performance. From the beginning, Sandra's world was one of contrasts. Summers were often spent in Germany, where she grew up surrounded by opera houses and backstage rehearsals, watching her mother captivate audiences with her voice. Yet back in Virginia, her life was more ordinary, rooted in discipline, routine, and American suburban values. She floated between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. As a child, Sandra was lively, funny, and mischievous, often performing skits to entertain her family and classmates. But behind her humor was also a deep sensitivity. She felt the sting of being an outsider during her time in Europe, teased for her European accent. And when she returned to the U.S., her European habits sometimes made her feel different there, too. This duality of belonging and not belonging would later shape her ability to embody characters that were both strong and vulnerable. Tragedy struck early. In 2000, Sandra lost her beloved mother, Helga, to cancer. The grief left a permanent scar. She had not only lost her parent, but also the woman who inspired her creativity and artistry. For years, Sandra spoke about how much her mother's influence remained with her, reminding her to stay grounded, to be kind, and to never lose sight of the bigger picture.
After graduating from high school, Sandra pursued acting seriously, enrolling in East Carolina University to study drama. But she was restless, driven by the desire to perform. With courage and a small amount of money, she moved to New York City, where she studied under respected acting coach Sanford Meisner. Life in New York was not glamorous. She worked as a waitress, a bartender, even a coat checker, just to afford rent and acting classes. Auditions came and went, often ending in rejection. Casting directors told her she was too girl next door, that she didn't fit the Hollywood mold. Sandra hid her pain with humor, but inside, the sting of failure weighed heavy. Her first roles were small, off-Broadway plays, minor TV parts, even B-movies. Each role was a tiny step forward, but progress was painfully slow. Sandra herself admitted that there were nights she questioned everything. Was she good enough? Was she wasting her time? Still, she persevered. She had inherited her mother's resilience, her father's discipline, and a quiet fire that refused to be extinguished. Sandra's breakthrough came in 1994 with Speed, starring opposite Keanu Reeves. The action thriller became a global phenomenon, and Sandra's performance as Annie Porter, the witty, courageous bus driver, won over audiences instantly. Overnight, she went from being an unknown actress to a household name. Critics praised her charisma, her authenticity, and her ability to light up the screen. She was not just a supporting actress, she was the heart of the film. Suddenly, Hollywood was at her feet. She was offered leading roles, magazine covers, interviews, and opportunities she had only dreamed of. But fame came with its own burdens. Sandra often described herself as shy, preferring private life over public attention. The sudden glare of the spotlight was overwhelming, but she embraced it with grace.
The late 1990s and early 2000s marked the true golden era of Sandra Bullock's career. After the success of Speed, she went on to star in a wide variety of films that showcased her versatility. Romantic comedies like While You Were Sleeping cemented her status as the girl next door, while thrillers like The Net revealed her ability to carry darker, suspenseful roles. Her range was undeniable, and audiences adored her because she felt real, approachable, relatable, almost as if she could be a friend or neighbor. But it was Miss Congeniality in 2000 that forever branded Sandra as America's sweetheart. Playing FBI agent Gracie Hart, she brought humor, toughness, and vulnerability to a role that might have been forgettable in the hands of anyone else. Instead, Sandra turned it into a cultural touchstone. The film grossed over $200 million and gave her global recognition. Then came The Blind Side in 2009. In the role of Leanne Toohey, Sandra delivered the performance of a lifetime. Critics praised her emotional depth, her ability to embody strength wrapped in compassion. The film earned her an Academy Award for Best Actress, cementing her place among Hollywood's elite. For a woman once told she was too ordinary for Hollywood, it was poetic justice. Sandra also broke barriers as one of the few actresses to consistently command top billing and box office success at a time when the industry was dominated by men. Films like Gravity, 2013, further proved her star power. She carried the entire movie almost single-handedly, and it grossed over $700 million worldwide.
Personal life and challenges. For all her professional success, Sandra's personal life was often marked by heartbreak. In 2005, she married motorcycle builder Jesse James, and for a time it seemed like she had found her happily ever after. The media adored the image, America's sweetheart married to the rugged bad boy. She even stepped into the role of stepmother, pouring her love into James's children. But in 2010, at the peak of her career, just days after winning her Oscar, her world shattered. News broke that Jesse James had been unfaithful. Multiple women came forward, revealing affairs. The betrayal was public, humiliating, and devastating. Sandra withdrew from the spotlight, canceling appearances, retreating from Hollywood to grieve privately. The contrast was brutal. One moment she was standing on the stage, holding the industry's highest honor, and the next she was picking up the pieces of a broken marriage. But Sandra's story is one of resilience. That same year, she adopted her son, Louis. Later, she would also adopt her daughter, Lila. Motherhood became her anchor, her safe place. Sandra often said that becoming a mother was her greatest role, far more meaningful than any she had played on screen. Still, tragedy was never far away. In 2018, she lost her father, John, and not long after, her beloved dogs, companions she had treated like family. In 2023, her longtime partner, Brian Randall, passed away after a private battle with ALS, leaving Sandra once again grieving the loss of love. Narrator V.O. Behind the cameras, Sandra Bullock's life was not a fairy tale. Fame could buy her awards, but it could not shield her from betrayal, heartbreak, or death. In the end, she found strength, not in Hollywood, but in family.
Later years. Decline. As the years passed, Sandra began stepping away from Hollywood's relentless pace. She had nothing left to prove. Her career was full of milestones, her place in cinematic history secure. Yet she openly admitted she was tired of the spotlight, of the scrutiny, of the pressure to always be on. She shifted her focus to raising her children, choosing school events and quiet family dinners over red carpets. While fans eagerly awaited her next project, Sandra prioritized privacy and motherhood. In interviews, she confessed she no longer needed Hollywood in the way she once did. She had found fulfillment elsewhere. But even as she tried to retreat from fame, grief struck again. The loss of Brian Randall in 2023 devastated her. Friends described Sandra as heartbroken, devastated by the loss of her partner and the father figure her children had come to love. The woman once known for her infectious smile now carried visible sorrow. The shine of fame dimmed. The world saw less of Sandra Bullock, but those closest to her said she was pouring her love into her children, determined to protect them from the same pain she endured. Narrator V.O. The spotlight faded, not because Sandra Bullock failed, but because she chose peace over pressure, family over fame. Yet even in her quiet years, tragedy found her.
Legacy and symbolism. Sandra Bullock's legacy is far greater than her films. She redefined what it meant to be a leading woman in Hollywood. Funny, strong, vulnerable, commanding, and human. She shattered the stereotype that actresses had an expiration date, proving she could draw audiences in her 40s and 50s just as powerfully as she did in her 20s. She is also remembered for her kindness. On multiple occasions, Sandra quietly donated millions to disaster relief efforts, often before other celebrities stepped forward. After 9/11, after Hurricane Katrina, after the 2011 tsunami in Japan, she gave, not for headlines, but because it was the right thing to do. Her story is one of survival. She endured betrayal, grief, and public humiliation, yet she never allowed those tragedies to define her. Instead, she rebuilt herself time and again, showing resilience that inspired millions.
Closing statement. Sandra Bullock's life is a portrait of contrasts, the laughter she gave the world and the tears she shed in silence, the golden statues on her shelf and the broken heart she carried inside, the dazzling lights of Hollywood and the quiet darkness of loss. She may have been crowned America's sweetheart, but behind that title was a woman who suffered deeply, who grieved profoundly, and who fought tirelessly to protect her children from the same pain.